Let's go live now to Washington and to the Conservative commentator and political strategist, Mica Mosbacher. She's on the Trump 2020 National Advisory Board. Good to talk to you again. Of course, the political divide in Congress reflects the political divide in the country. Do you think that politically the impeachment proceedings have had any impact?
Absolutely none. It was something that backfired on the Democratic Party. It was a colossal political mistake, and it's one of the reasons I think Nancy Pelosi ripped up her speech last night. Going after impeachment was against her political instincts from the beginning. And look at Iowa. It's in shambles. And, you know, Joe Biden is trailing. He's number 4 right now. We have results trickling in. So he is one of the victims of this impeachment sham. President Trump last night delivered one of the most effective speeches I've ever heard. He nodded and signaled that he was willing to reach across the aisle and work with Democrats, despite this impeachment nonsense, work with Democrats on issues that are important to the American people, whether it's infrastructure or lowering prescription drug prices. I think that it's very interesting to see that Mitt Romney, who is now standing on a lonely island as a castaway, did not suit up and play with the GOP. Full disclosure, I was one of his national finance co-chairs in 2012. He's a failed presidential candidate. I was extremely disappointed in his vote. However, it was not unexpected. President Trump, on the other hand, is in great shape going into this 2020 election. The Republican National Committee, in combination with the Trump campaign, has raised a record $154 million. He's managed to pass 2 bipartisan trade deals, U.S., Mexico, Canada, the NAFTA replacement, and phase 1 of the China deal. I think that the Democrats have a civil war going on in their primary, and unfortunately, for example, Nancy Pelosi caved to the progressive liberal left wing of the party.
Mica,
so I think that Democrats
forgive me
are scared.
Jumping in. I think those are probably all the talking points you wanted to get in. Just, I have to put this to you. The vote in the Senate particularly does suggest that it is okay for an American president to ask a foreign government to help him cheat in a presidential election, to dig up dirt on an opponent. And not only a foreign government, but an ally of the United States that was under threat from Russia, that was at war with Russia. If Barack Obama had done that, you'd be okay with that?
Well, first of all, an acquittal is an acquittal. You can't be a little bit
But what about
pregnant.
the result? You know what that vote means. It approves what the president did.
No, it didn't. It proved that he did nothing wrong. He absolutely had a pause in the aid because Fortune magazine called Ukraine one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And President Trump is a good steward of American taxpayer dollars. He wanted to make sure that President Zelensky, who was elected on the platform of corruption, would investigate corruption.
Just
but
on
at
that
the
point
end
then,
of the day,
particularly
he
on
released
what you
the
call
aid.
corruption.
At the end of the day, he released the aid. The aid was released within the deadline of Congress. He did nothing wrong. The Democrats will continue with their talking point. They might even have a rolling impeachment going forward.
Well, just
they
on that point, I need to ask you something about what you call corruption. Do you now expect to see Joe Biden and Hunter Biden brought before Congress?
I think the American people want to move on. Quite frankly, they had tuned out during this 178 days of testimony in Congress. They were more interested in Prince Harry and Meghan, quite frankly. I think that the Democrats need to have results. They need to work with this president. I think that Americans are tired of this. After all, the Democrats have tried to go after President Trump from day one. They called him a Russian agent, which is preposterous. Secondly, the Mueller investigation, which cost over $25 million. That ended up exonerating the president. I think that Americans want us to move on.
We've talked before about all that. We will talk about it again, I'm sure, nearer the election. For now, I have to leave it and move on. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for inviting me on.